Hang in
Dude,
there. It is.
that's Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Welcome back to another episode of The Smylie Show. He's Smylie Kaufman. I am Charlie Hulme. And Smylie, let me just read you a stat line from the week. Scottie Scheffler, 61, 63, 66, 63 for a total score of 253, 31 under. I have a quartet of Justin Ray stats that I want to read you about Scottie's performance this week. We're going to get to that and a number of other things because it is this golf. We're heating up at the right time heading into a major. A lot of cool names in the mix. But here's where I wanted to start. And given where we are as a podcast and the things we care about in the world of golf, Scottie's career win resume at this point, right? He's won 2 majors, the Masters in 2022 and 2024. He's won 2 Players Championships, 2023 and 2024. He's won 1 FedEx Cup playoff event, Tour Championship in 2024. He's won 5 of designated and or signature events, the WM Phoenix Open in 23, Arnold Palmer Invitational in 24, the RBC Heritage in 24, the Memorial in 24, and the Travelers in 24. He's won what was the defunct version of this before, the WGC Match Play in 2022. And then of 3 PGA Tour events, one, the WM Phoenix Open in 2022 was eventually a designated event. And then the API, a player-hosted invitational, became a signature event 2022. The CJ CUP Byron Nelson in 2025 is probably the smallest event on his resume. Now, I know it holds importance to him because it's a home game of sorts, but that is a long setup for how special it was to watch him choking up after winning this event on the 18th green, holding his son Bennett. And I know you've talked on the show about just how special it would feel to have your child with you after winning an event. And the first place I wanted to start was just what a cool thing it was to see something that could have been routine for Scottie. It was a wire-to-wire win. And just the emotion of sharing what he called just these small little moments with his son Bennett that kind of are landmarks throughout your career, just how cool it was to take all that in.
I mean, waking up in your own bed and playing a professional golf tournament near your house, a place in which it was his first PGA Tour start as an amateur, had to be pretty special. I know, going to the first tee today, I think everybody in the world knew that Scottie was going to win. He probably knew he was going to win too. And then he shoots 30 on the front 9. You're like, okay, what history can we chase? Justin Ray, somebody help us with a stat that'll keep us interested on this back 9 because it was flawless. I mean, he's been the best player in the world, and Rory's try to throw his name in the hat this year for sure for how well as he has played. But what Scottie did all last year, and you said all the stats. I mean, we know what we've seen, right? With this guy, his iron game is as good as Tiger Woods when in his prime, as good when you go look at the stats. And this week was no exception. He gained 12 strokes on his approach game this week. And when it kind of comes to our one and done this week too, is this bad for me to say is that I would rather have a miscut from Hitsatsune, who was my one and done pick.
Late audible, by the way.
Then pick Scottie for just his 500 points, because I would much rather be right on a week in which he gets 700 than a measly 500 FedEx Cup points. I don't know if you're in the same boat as me here on this, because of course, going into the week one and done strategy, I would love to take Scottie, but in no way, shape, or form was I ever touching this guy this week.
Well, I think it's funny because it doesn't as much feel like 500 points gained as much as it feels like 200 points lost.
Exactly.
So I agree there entirely. And I also think that part of this was, okay, this is the Scottie Scheffler that we know. It not that he played poorly to this point in the season, but just it wasn't the version of him we were used to seeing. Felt like he was a little bit off his usual self at the Masters, despite finishing, in and around the mix with his C game, which was incredible. But this is the Scottie Scheffler we're accustomed to seeing heading into the second major of the year. And on that topic, I promised you a quartet of Justin Ray golf stats at Justin Ray Golf on X. So lowest 72 hole scores in PGA Tour history. He is now tied 2 other players, Justin Thomas, did it in 253, the 2017 Sony Open, as did Ludwig Oberg at the 2023 RSM. He joins that group. He gained 18.21 strokes on the field this week with his ball striking, which is off the tee and approach. It's the most in a measured 72-hole PGA Tour event for any player since 2007. Justin was tracking a stat through 3 rounds that I updated through 4 that actually illustrates the greatness of Vijay Singh. He finished with gained 17.02 strokes tee to green through all 4 rounds, and the most ever is Vijay Singh in the 2004 Deutsche Bank Championship with 21.1. That feels like a preposterous number. And then finally, most rounds of 63 or lower on the PGA Tour in the last 4 seasons. He has 13 of them. Russell Henley 11, Xander 11, Justin Thomas 11, and 3 of those were this week.
I'd be so pumped. I'd be so pumped to shoot one of his crappy 66 he shot this week. If I walked in to my house after shooting a 66, where my game's at currently, my wife better greet me with a beer and just a big smile on her face and say, "Well done, honey." And then Scottie's coming home, and Meredith is greeting him, was like, 66 today. Okay. You know,
not your best work. Not your best work.
Wait, I was just going to say, I was going to update you real quickly, unless you have a quick thought on this, because I wanted to give you a 2025 Scottie Scheffler rundown on his stats, because I think I have a big picture thing with Scottie here.
I want to hear it. And I think the crazy thing about this, too, is that he gave away almost 2 shots around the green today. I think a lot of that came with what happened at 17, which that's crazy to think if he's break even there, he's close to that VJ number. So just, amazing stuff. So yes, paint us the big picture on Scottie.
Okay.
Here.
So you kind of talked about how this season Scottie's been off, and I think that's the perception a lot of people have. So let me give you just an overall stats update. Off of the tee, he's 4th. The leaders Rory, he's 1st. Approach to the green, Scottie Scheffler's in 1st. Around the green, he's 92nd. Last year, he was 17th in that category. So maybe you could point to the around the green game not being nearly as elite as it was last year. Strokes gained putting last year, 77th. We just said he's got a putt average. He's going to win a lot. Well, guess what? Scottie Scheffler's 25th in putting this year. That is an incredible leap and jump from where he was, beginning of last year, where we're like, sound the alarm bells. This guy has turned into being a very, very good putter. I know guys get hot, but it seems pretty dang consistent right now. In the tee to green game, 1st. Strokes gained total, 1st. I could keep on going on and on, but this is just a summation of, okay, Scottie hasn't won yet this year until this week, but man, oh man, I am excited for the rest of the year with a Rory McIlroy's playing arguably some of the best golf he's played in his career. Scottie, who we thought is rounding into form. Well, it's been pretty good all year, as I just kind of read out. And then, throw in a lot of other players. We got a big next couple of weeks.
Okay, so be a rain cloud real quick for me here.
Okay.
The around the green stat, to 92nd for the year. You saw both the pitch at 17 that comes back to him, then the second sort of bump that ends up short. He makes the putt for bogey. What if you're just coming up with a theory as to why he's been off there this year? Is it just changing grass types early in the season? That's going to kind of average out over the course of the season, or do you see anything there at all that you're picking up on?
No, his ball striking was off at the beginning of the year, and I think he was leaving himself hard up and downs. His bunker game was off at the beginning of the year. It's not easy to get up and down on the PGA Tour when you're missing short side, and I think he was having a bit of a double cross miss. Balls that wouldn't necessarily fade. He's definitely missing left. So I think that had a lot to do with it. And sometimes it can be a bit of a misleading stat too, because, sometimes you're making all your birdie putts and you're not making the par putts. So it can be a bit misleading sometimes when it comes to just overall saves. And I assume the around the green stats probably much more to do with proximity of how close you hit shots. I'm not really sure exactly how it's all measured.
Kaufman was supposed to fight Ciaran Clark, but he had to pull off injury. You get the call. You get to go in there. What was it like for you when you got that call, jumping in there and be part of this bantamweight tournament on short notice?
Terrifying, man. 2 weeks notice against a stud, but I've been preparing my whole life for it, and I couldn't say no to the opportunity, and saw what happened. I came in there and kind of shocked the world. Not kind of, I did.
Only on Sports Grid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. You did Dr. J games.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on Sports Grid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on Sports Grid.
We want to spin this ahead to the second major of the season, the PGA Championship. So we are going to do a look ahead with our partners at Ahead. We've talked to you about them in the past. They're a great partner with us here. They are a strategic partner for enterprise clients, helping them navigate the path toward digital transformation, much like an expert caddy, reading the course ahead and providing the winning combination of technology and execution. You can learn more at ahead.com. So we're going to use Ahead here to tee up some notable names that we're going to see at Quail Hollow. And we're going to start with some of the favorites, but really we have 6 names that aren't necessarily at the top of the odds board you can find at DraftKings Sportsbook right now, but are a selection of intriguing propositions of players that could and should be in the mix at Quail Hollow. So we're going to start with Scottie Scheffler, of course, 5-1, plus 500 to win this event. Here's an interesting stat I was doing in my research for this. Do you know he's never played an individual event, or at least a pro event at Quail Hollow?
Yeah, he was. He backed out last year.
Do you think he hates banks?
Well, no.
Wells Fargo, Truist, not a bank guy.
Why did he not play? Did he have a back thing come up? Is that right?
Well, I think last year was Bennett's arrival. So
That's
you have to look
what it
the year
was.
before. Is Bennett?
He was on maternity leave.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Paternity leave, but yeah.
Paternity leave. Whatever.
Well, and it's funny because I'm thinking back. Of course, we've seen him at Quail Hollow in the 2022 Presidents Cup, and it's something we've discussed a number of times on the show. His play that week alongside Sam Burns, and the lasting memory I have is what you witnessed the shank there.
I recall Sam Burns carrying Scottie that week. So
the way we kind of want to set this up is tell me why Scottie will win the PGA Championship and tell me why Scottie won't win the PGA Championship.
Okay. Why will Scottie win the PGA Championship? This might be the easiest of all of the players that you're going to give me. Well, first off, it's Scottie Scheffler. He's really good at golf, and I think if he just shows up, he'll have a pretty good chance. We
don't need to say much there.
well, just think about the golf course, right? I might as well talk about that, knowing that we're about to just kind of get into this a little bit. It's long, really long. He's hits it incredibly high. He's just accurate enough off the tee to have a distinct advantage, to have a club or two shorter than the average, and then he hits those clubs just as high as anybody else, if not higher. So his ability to play firm golf courses, and especially ones that have some space like Quail Hollow, is why I really like Scottie there. Why would I not like him there? Well, I just did kind of mention that he did get carried a little bit by Scottie, or by Sam Burns. But when I think about this golf course too, I think about just some like key drives. I think about like 18. 18 is one where you have to fade it off this bunker. All right, let's say that left miss shows up again. That's a tee shot that maybe be an issue. Another important par 3 right before it. That's a hole in which, hey, you got to hit it pretty dang straight on. I'm not saying that Scottie's not going to be able to hit these shots. I'm just saying that if the double cross were to show up or happen to show up, maybe a shot or two around there, and then maybe missing in some bad spots and just looking at the around the green stat, and you see 92nd this year. Maybe that's the reason why I didn't get it done.
Yeah, it's the only prior to this week the marks I would have had against him were the form not being elite Scottie and the lack of course history. And after this week, okay, it looks like he's back in form. So really the only thing I can mark against him is that I don't really know how he's going to play here in an individual context. But all the reasons you list make a ton of sense, and it kind of reminds me of what we talked about heading into the Masters, going through the video of just every hole at Augusta National and just his importance of capitalizing on a superpower of length by finding those fairways, finding the short grass, and then allowing himself to on the holes where he has a wedge, really kind of hit it close and capitalize on that. But to your point, with the length of this course, hitting those irons soft into those greens, landing him at a better angle, stopping them more quickly, should offer him more opportunities to score.
I'll tell you one other reason why he won't win if he doesn't is expectations. I think that majors for him are going to be circled, I think, for the rest of his career. They probably always have been, but let's just think about how we always talk about Scottie now, which is that he is the best player in the world, and he won however many times last year. But this game is measured based off of how many major championships you win. And if anything, the beginning of this year, Scottie was a bit frustrated with this game. You saw a lot of emotion out of him. I think for him, it's just remembering how good he is and not pushing too hard. If he just shows up and plays Scottie Scheffler golf, that's all he needs to do. But if he starts pushing a little bit, gets a little too aggressive, kind of loses the plot a little bit out there, that's where you could maybe see him, fall a couple shots short, which he's going to be right there.
Well, rank the 3 remaining major venues in terms of how much you like them for Scottie the rest of the year between Quail Hollow, Oakmont, and Royal Portrush.
Open would be the last because it's the most unpredictable. I would go probably U.S. Open next. Just feel like it's going to be hard. And he plays hard golf courses as good as anybody. And then Quail next, mainly because I think there's a mixed bag of players who I think have a really good chance next week.
So that's interesting.
So 2 weeks.
So you like Quail the best?
No.
Oakmont. Oh, the reverse. You like
Oakmont, PGA, and then Portrush.
Okay. Well, there you have it. So the next player we're going to talk about is at least at the time I checked this, the shortest odds on DraftKings Sportsbook to win this. Of course, Rory McIlroy, also going off of 5-1. He has an extensive history at Quail Hollow. He's made 13 starts, either in Wells Fargo Championship or previously the Quail Hollow Championship, and then of course the 2017 PGA.
Two wins. Is that right?
He's made 12 of 13 cuts here, and he has 4 wins here. 2010, 2015, 2021, 2024. He has 6 top 5s here. He has 9 top 10s here. And in that PGA Championship in 2017, he finished tied for 22nd. So same question for Rory. Why will he win? Why won't he win?
The driver sets up the game for Rory McIlroy, and it's a long golf course, as well as he has driven it this year. It's such a weapon, and the fact that he can, turn some par 5s into, some 5-6 irons where other guys are hitting hybrids and 3-woods into some par 5s. His ability to hit it up in the air, the 8th hole drivable par 4, no problem for him. He can get it up around that green. It's no surprise he's played so well there. It's a course that clearly suits his eye, putts the greens really well. And gosh, it would be surprising to see him not contend. I think that would be the biggest shock, is to see Rory somehow show up to Quail Hollow and not find his game.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
You know, Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. You know, they've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
Fans hate them. Like, kids go to Giant games and they're like, my father forces me to come, or my grandfather was a season ticket holder. Like, no one has fun. It's a miserable place to go.
The Giants' problem has always been, over the last several years, and it's been the reason why Barkley never really got off, is the offensive line.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
Sports Grid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Let's just keep going down the list. So we have Xander Schauffele, next shortest odds to win, the reigning PGA champion, going off at 11-1. His history at Quail, he's made 5 starts here, made 4 or 5 cuts. He's never won here, but he's finished second twice in 2023 and 2024. Those were, constituted both of his top 5s and top 10s. He missed the cut in 2017, the PGA Championship. Xander, I think, we've talked about the fact that, it's a tough start to the year coming off a 2 major campaign to have the injury that he did. But where he jumped back in on the schedule was a very difficult run of golf, and he acquitted himself well from the early going and played some good golf there for a while. So where do you kind of see him in this event? Do you feel like he could be a sleeper pick? You get some real value here for a guy that has one of the best games in the world and just won the PGA last year.
I think he could repeat. I really do. I think Xander Schauffele is 100% going to be slept on coming into this week. The reasons why, when you go and look at his stats this year, you'll see the putter has been, very poor for him. I think if any of the players that you're going to name, I would say that Xander Schauffele, statistically, if we go back to last season, is clearly the best putter of the entire I would say best players in the world. I would take Xander over any of them. And this year, the putter has been off. I don't foresee that to continue. That's, to me, seems like something that's totally fixable, whatever. If it's technique, speed, just not playing enough golf, not being in rhythm, whatever that might be, I see it being fixed. He's obviously had success here. But what I love to see is that his iron game is really, really good. We've seen that kind of tick up over the last 3 or 4 weeks that he's played. Obviously, when you start your season at Bay Hill, it's going to be a really tough start to find your rhythm. The driver's been off here and there. It's not that he's driven it poorly. It's that I think it's just been, 2 or 3 around that's maybe not quite what he was looking for. So when you go to a golf course that has some space, yes, of course, there's going to be some rough you'll have to deal with. But man, I love Xander Schauffele's chances.
And the reason why he won't win, is it anything more than just not feeling like he's fully healthy, or he's not had enough time to kind of get back up to speed this year, or would it be something different than that?
A lot of the same reasons what I just said of if the putter doesn't wake up and if the driver just doesn't get a little bit tighter. The iron game, I don't expect that to be too far off, and especially with his link too, that is another asset that he has now is it's a weapon that he consistently hits mid 180s ball speed. So all these players that we're most likely going to be talking about are plus 180 ball speed guys on a very long golf course.
Well, I'll give you another one that's definitely plus 180 ball speed. Bryson DeChambeau going off at 12-1, and also coming off a win both individually and for his team, the Crushers, let's see here, Jack Nicklaus Golf Club, South Korea. So that's something to kind of get him going. I don't know if they play this next week again. I don't think they do before the PGA. But this is a guy who was runner-up to Xander last year at Valhalla, went on to win the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. Probably you'd say, despite my urging for Joaquin Niemann to go on and show up at some of these major championships, probably the best live competitor in the majors in the most recent span of time. Now, his history at Quail is unique because obviously the last start he made there was 2021. He's not playing in the Wells Fargo Championship. So 4 starts career, 3 out of 4 cuts made. Never won there. Best finish was 4th in 2018, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s. And in that PGA Championship in 2017, he finished tied for 33rd. So given what we saw from Bryson, just a month ago, final group at Augusta, doesn't play as well as he'd like to, but obviously coming off a win here, has some confidence. Why do you think he could win this, and why wouldn't he win?
I'll be shocked if you don't see some type of leaderboard with Bryson, Scottie, and Rory. I think the way these guys are playing, now Xander, I could see a world in which his stuff just isn't quite there yet, but I expect Xander to be in the mix as well. Bryson's is having another incredible year. He's putting himself in contention. Every time I look at the live leaderboard, he seems to be winning the golf tournament. Now he finally closed one out, which I think is important for a dude's confidence heading into a major championship, just to prove to himself. Of course, being in the final group of the Masters, having some chances on the live golf season earlier in the year and not closing it out, just for your overall psyche, right? You don't want to show up on the being in the final pairing of the PGA Championship and wondering, can I close it out? You've had close calls all year, so I think that's important that he got the job done in Korea this week, and it just continues to build the storyline, man. I think this PGA is just going to be as epic as last year's,
without a doubt. And I'm just double checking here. Yeah, the next event is not until June 6th on Live Golf. So that is his last start prior to heading into the PGA Championship.
Vegas knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Second game of doubleheader. We don't know exactly who's going to be in the lineup, and maybe you get an extended game number 1, which means tired bullpens and closers used up, which aren't available for game number 2, and maybe finding some extra shots here. But I do think the pitching matchup more susceptible, Tom, to runs here.
This is part of what we look at. Like I said, I don't expect both teams to win. So we have a pitcher who may not be sustainable at 28.6, but he's playing well right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on Sports Grid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on Sports Grid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
Sports Grid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Moving next to the guy who last hoisted the trophy when this PGA Championship was held at Quail Hollow, Justin Thomas. And this is sliding a little bit further down the leaderboard. He's going off at 18-1. He's made 7 starts at Quail, made 6 of 7 cuts. Of course, that win in 2017 at the PGA is the one win he has here, and has 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s. This is a guy that, I think we really liked the way his game was trending this year, but the combination of his course history here, especially in this event, and then just hearing him reflect after that RBC Heritage win about the work he'd done on his putting, and obviously we saw it that entire week at Harbor Town. Why could you see JT winning this thing, and what went wrong if he does not win?
And let me clean up Bryson too. I didn't tell you what was going to go wrong if he doesn't win. I think the reason would be, have you ever been inside a Quail Hollow's clubhouse?
Donuts?
Yes, the donuts. I think this is where they get Bryson. I think they're going to have a sign there, and it says protein donuts, all you can eat.
Donuts.
And I think that's where he gets off. And it's just this intake of gluten that he's not prepared for. I know he likes to pound the protein, make sure he's sharp. Next thing you know, he's having sugar crashes out on the golf course from eating too many donuts, thinking it was protein donuts. But here he is.
So now this is something I can blame all my bad golf on now. Just too much gluten, too many moon pies laying around, too many donuts.
Sugars all over the place.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
You can only do so much. So yes. Okay, there we go. That's why we're ruling out Bryson. But JT, not a donut guy?
Oh, I big donut guy. Big donut guy. That's also why he's going down too.
Everyone's con is donuts. Gonna eat too many donuts. That's great. Great.
Another player that's played good here, obviously won the last PGA Championship here. He's probably had it circled for quite some time. Maybe the PGA Championships are the majors that he's going to win too. He's already won 2 of them.
Yeah.
So might as well make it a hat trick and get your 3rd. JT's, I think he's always, whether it's the President's Cup, whether it's Wells Fargo, always plays good. I don't know what stats you got on him as far as, career at Quail Hollow, but it's certainly been a course that's suited his game.
Well, it's kind of interesting because this is one of the guys that, and it's off the back of that win in 2017, a major. It's as elevated as you can get at Quail Hollow. But I thought it was going to be better, maybe. Just that 1 top 5 and then 2 top 10s total. It's really just one finish outside of that win that was good, and then everything else was not necessarily bad, but just not what you expect when you think in your mind of Justin Thomas here. Now, I think that if you have that confidence, and especially in the major setting, and you combine that with run of form, especially with the one club that's been giving you trouble, like if a confident putter and a good course history, I love everything about it for JT.
It's going to be all about the driver and the putter for him.
So that's why he wouldn't win, is just if one of those 2 things is off.
Yeah, I think yes. You have to be an iron player that can hit it high. Like, you need to be able to hit it high. He can do that. Got to be somewhat accurate as far as hitting your number. Pretty big greens, but it's driver and putter for sure.
Yeah. Well, and then we're going to go further down the list here, but this is a guy who'd be looking for, wouldn't it be something to see 2 career Grand Slams completed in the same year? And there are a number of people chasing this, but Jordan Spieth is of course the closest. He's going off at 40-1, just needs a PGA to complete that quartet of trophies. And we're going to go back to some J Ray stats here. This is from today, of course, finishing up that final round of the CJ Cup. Byron Nelson, he shot 62, tying the lowest final round score of his PGA Tour career. Also shot 62 at the 2013 Deutsche Bank Championship. And then this is more of a testament to the greatness of Scottie. Shot 62 today and is alone in 4th place, 13 shots behind Scheffler at the time of typing that tweet, which is just so ridiculous in terms of the distance that Scottie put between himself and the rest of the field this week. But Jordan, we've talked about getting healthy this year, just wondering how that wrist is going to be. And I think the results are probably about as good as we could have expected. Maybe Jordan has a higher standard for himself, but I am certainly pleased with what we've seen thus far. And he's made 4 starts here. He's made 3 or 4 cuts at Quail. Never won here. So the course history maybe is the one thing that gives me pause. His best finish was tied for 28th in the 2017 PGA. He has no top 5s or top 10s. Is it, for him, does this feel like the right spot to pick off that last major for the career Grand Slam, or is the course fit not as good as you'd like for Jordan?
Okay, I'm going to start the opposite way with Jordan here.
Okay.
Well, I'll lead you up into the good and the bad. I think this was a really good week. At least a really good Sunday. Just momentum. You just want to build some momentum heading into to a major. And I think for Jordan, he's going to be at the best at the end, I think, of a stretch of golf. So he's got a pretty big stretch coming up. Obviously, the PGA Championship Circle. I think, is it Colonial the week after PGA this year?
Yes.
So it's a week of probably 4 in a row for him. And starting at Craig Ranch is a perfect place to go and work on your game a little bit. I've spoken with him a little bit. He just said that the feel that he has right now in his golf swing is completely right. Have to kind of get out there and trust it. And I think Craig Ranch was a perfect place to, it was target practice out there with how soft the greens were, but you still, it's a long golf course and you got to go out there and hit the shots. And to see that he played really well on Sunday wasn't surprising. And the fact that Thursday, Friday, Saturday was kind of a slow build up to an eventual top 5 finish. That's showing that the feels that he's having are definitely progressing the correct direction.
Yeah.
Next week is important. Next week is really important for the fact that this week, sure, was he in contention? Nobody was really in contention. Nobody really felt the heat of trying to win a golf tournament. I think he's had.
Did you hear what he said to a man in his interview?
Do you think it'll hold up?
Gonna hold up?
He texted our group text and everyone was dying laughing. Yeah, dude, you need to hold. You need to hang around, head to the range. All right, so next week's important because he's gotten into contention in Phoenix. But Dietrich ran away with it there, and then a runaway, of course, here at Craig Ranch. But he was up around. He definitely felt the juice. But I really think that Philly Cricket Club, the Truist Championship, smaller field, has to be in the last couple groups and with a legitimate chance on the back 9, because I think he needs to see how his swing and game are going to hold up under pressure on a back 9 on a Sunday with the chance to win a golf tournament before he gets to the PGA Championship. Not to say he doesn't have to have those feelings before he gets to Quail Hollow. Just a player coming back from surgery, not having won a major championship in a while. It's important for those players to feel those nerves, just to know that the next time they get in that situation, that they know how, like, the more time you get there, the more comfortable seemingly you may get, although you never really are fully comfortable. It's just playing with those nerves.
Well, and you wouldn't be worried at all about expending that level of energy the week before a major championship?
Not for Jordan. I think the more he plays, the better, because he's working on refining his golf swing to a point to where he can just play golf, getting up onto a shot that he knows he can trust, that he can hit a fade. I think he's fought is this miss still going to be here when I have this feel? And players fight this all the time. We just always are talking about Scottie Scheffler and Rory and all these other players who typically haven't had like all these, misses in their games, where Jordan's fought a little bit of a left and right miss at times. He's kind of worn in this pattern. I like where he's heading. He likes where he's heading too. And I thought it was cool too at the end of the whole tournament and the interview after. He was kind of talking about Scottie. He's like, well, I know what the bar is. I not only played him the first 2 days, but I play with him at home, and I know how good I need to get to be able to, think I'm one of the best players in the world. So I think he's in a good frame of mind of knowing where his game is at. But he's talked about this all the time. Get yourself into contention, and it only helps when you get to major championships. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do next week. I think we're going to get into the Philly Cricket Club as this week goes on, but I think next week's is going to be a big one for him.
Well, I'm just getting fired up. Thank you again to our partners with Ahead for that look ahead at the PGA Championship. You can learn more about them at ahead.com.
You don't think that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers can be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
It's so crazy that you get both ends of that spectrum in the narrative trying to be correct in doing so and to make a statement for engagement. You're wrong, you've been wrong, and deal with the reality of the situation.
All of the people that analyze the draft mocked one in the first round, and even could he go to the Giants at number 3 or trade up back in that round. They got Dart, they didn't get Sanders, and the fall was on at that point.
The early line, only on Sports Grid.
We're going to get a bunch of upsets. We're going to get a lot of craziness. Didn't happen as well. I mean, over the last calendar year, Sam, I don't ever recall 6 or 8 months of time in sports where the books lost, but here we are.
They estimate FanDuel and DraftKings lost $185 million combined for March Madness. So estimating not just that they didn't have a profitable March Madness, but it was a huge loss for them as well.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
So, in talking about this event, obviously we're really excited about the golf course, but it comes as part of one of these limited field PGA Tour signature events. And Eric Van Rooyen, who played just about as well as you could this week at the CJ CUP Byron Nelson without hoisting a trophy, made it into this event via, I believe it was the Swing 5.
Yes, that's right.
One of the 2 Aeon categories.
Yes.
I think it was a Swing 5, not the next 10. And he was asked about this after his round on Sunday. And Brentley Romine kind of compiled both his thoughts there and then some thoughts he's had on signature events prior to this. I just want to read you a few of these. And so he says, "How honest do you want me to be? I hate it. I strongly believe that the strongest fields are the ones with the most players in them. The guys on the PGA Tour are so good. It's so deep. I get that you got the Scotties of the world, the Rorys of the world, and people want to see them. It's entertaining. Like the PGA Championship coming up, for example, I think it's the strongest field in the game, similar to the players. I love competing, so selfishly, I want to compete against those guys. Again, really proud of playing my way into it." And this is, again, some additional comments from last year's Arnold Palmer Invitational, talking about some remarks he heard from Rory and Wyndham Clark. And he said, "I saw Wyndham's comments 2 years ago. Wyndham was in the 100 to 125 spot. He would have lost his car. Now he's a major winner, and all of a sudden." And Rory, I know he said he wants the tour to be more cutthroat. Well, this is the most cutthroat sport there is. If you miss the cut, you're gone, bro. You're not making money. The NBA has over 300 guys playing. We have 144 guys playing next week at the Players. That's not a lot, and more than half of them aren't making money. What do you make of what Eric had to say about just these events and just, at large, where we stand in terms of commentary on this from guys on tour that maybe could be the next Wyndham Clark?
Well, he's not wrong, is he?
He certainly is not.
I certainly I'm not going to disagree with him.
Mm-hmm.
All I care about is, can we get around the golf course in 4 hours?
Yeah.
If we could play twosomes, whatever the PGA Tour deems that this is the max amount of players that we can have to play twosomes, I don't know why I care so much about that, but that's where I would cut off the number.
Well, and I think that's completely fair, because it's which of these initiatives, and you kind of helped me understand this on this show, is just which of these initiatives are minimally impactful and almost for show, and which of them actually make a difference. And so we talk a lot about range finders and how much time that shaves off around, and it's becoming clearer to me that it's like those sorts of things don't make a material impact. You know what makes a material impact? Going from threesomes to twosomes. And it exposes slow players, and it makes the slow players speed up. And that's a better product. Now, defining what that number is, like even if it's a threesomes on Thursday and Friday and cut it down, it's twosomes on the weekend. If you go from like 100 to 50, I don't know exactly what that is, but you helped me understand that and why that would be a big change.
And just to kind of go to his 144 point, just having more players play, you know, I think where I would land on all of this when it comes to just signature events, when you turn on the TV, you get a distinction when you know it's a signature event or a PGA Tour event. You could tell by the leaderboard. So there are some good things when it comes to what the PGA Tour has attempted to do with these signature events. But you could also make the case that, all right, with the PGA Tour event this week at the Byron Nelson, going into the week, who do you think would have been in the top 5? You would have probably said, okay, Scottie Scheffler is probably most likely going to win this golf tournament. You figure that Jordan Spieth will probably be there. Then outside of that, there was Sam Burns, who was like, yep, he'll probably finish in the top 5. And I know all these people like, why don't you take them in your one and done picks? Like, we're idiots over here. We don't know what we're doing at one and done. But to be fair, the cream did rise to the crop this week for the most part. And then Eric Van Rooyen was a really good story in which he's a great player. He's played some incredible golf in his PGA Tour career and had chances to win plenty of places, and he has gotten it done in dramatic fashion in Cabo. I believe this was 2 years ago now. And I don't know. I kind of go back and forth that yes, I agree with him, but also I agree that the tour has made these signature events and these leaderboards a bigger deal. And I think there's always been these levels on the PGA Tour. Even when I was playing, there was it was like silver tour, platinum tour, and then you got your elite tour. And it's always kind of been that way. There just were more opportunities for players to play week in and week out. And this year, when you go and see how the guys are doing from like 125 and up, those players have been hurt the most in all of this with the change in criteria down to 100 this year. None of those players are having a chance to get inside the top 100. It feels like maybe a couple might sneak their way in, but it is as cutthroat as it ever has been, and these players are not taking weeks off.
Yeah, it's so two things to reflect on what you just said is one is it's interesting that these comments come almost a year to date from, I don't know if it was the most critiqued signature event that we've seen thus far, but just watching Xander, it could have set up for a good showdown between Xander and Rory, but as Xander falls away and we look at the spread on that leaderboard between Rory's winning number, where the rest of the players fell, you know, I think we talked about this on our show and others did as well. It's like, man, if this is a fuller field, do you have a better set of challengers, maybe some that aren't, you know, top tier players that give Rory more of a run, you know, when it was just kind of Xander at the end and Rory pulls away. I find that interesting. The second thing is you sent this tweet over to me, and it's Robops, ROBOPZ on X or Twitter.
He's great. He's one we'd always follow, just keeping up with.
He's fantastic. You know, reshuffle categories.
Especially the top 50 category. That was one we debated so heavily last year of if you were in the top 50, how likely you were to remain inside the top 50. And that was a big debate last year.
Well, and so it's interesting because in comparing year over year, the reshuffle category players in their quest for playoff eligibility or retaining their cards for next season, that 6 of the 45, not counting medicals, are trending into the playoffs, which is an improvement over only 3 at the same stage last year. However, in the totality of guys retaining their cards, that cut from 125 to 100 is having a big impact on that group, as to be expected. And so it's one of those things where it actually is year over year about the same, if not better. But it's just when push comes to shove, when you get to the end of the season, those guys are going to find themselves, you know, back trying to, you know, on the Korn Ferry Tour or back in Q School, or trying to kind of make their way back in with pathways that have shrunk because that's the new system. And whether that's a bad thing or a good thing, you know, I don't know, but it certainly takes the game in the same direction these signature events take it, which guys like Eric Van Rooyen do not like for compelling reasons.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
Sports Grid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Fans hate them. Like, kids go to Giant games and they're like, my father forces me to come, or my grandfather was a season ticket holder. Like, no one has fun. It's a miserable place to go.
The Giants' problem has always been over the last several years, and it's been the reason why Barkley never really got off, is the offensive line.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on Sports Grid.
Well, a PGA Tour card will just continue to become more valuable when you're inside that top 100. So when these guys get their PGA Tour card, I think it'll be easier to get into golf tournaments, especially since they're cutting down on fields. There's, I think it will, stretch in, when you are 100 to 125 and you miss out and you have that conditional status after this next year, I think those players are going to get more opportunities because, so many of the top 100 guys are now, okay, they're not, freaking out quite as much with the cut down of the cards and just getting into golf tournaments.
Yeah. It's just interesting though, when you have those 100 cards, like it would make sense if they bump those signature events up to 100 and then
only 20 coming off the Corn Ferry too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and still 10 for DP World Tour, but
so 130. Wow.
Good one to keep tabs on. And Smylie, nice little diverse set of topics on today's show as we kind of one more signature event. As mentioned, we're going to talk about Philly Cricket Club in depth on Wednesday's show. We also have a really, really fun conversation with Andrew Novak, who prior to Scottie's win this week was the most recent winner on tour alongside Ben Griffin at the Zurich Classic. So looking forward to that, Smylie. Looking forward to kind of gearing up for some PGA Championship talk with some guests we're excited to have on the show soon. What do you got? Any final thoughts for the people as we head out?
Yeah, if you need me after I take my Magic Mind tonight, I'm going to be in room 426. There's plenty of room on our floor. It's the Nightmare Hall. It's the hall in which everybody's trying to figure out their driver swings and getting it in play. There's plenty of rooms going around here. I know you're in the lobby hanging out with all your buddies down there talking about how good you're driving it.
No, buddy. I
got rooms.
I'm right there on the floor. In fact, I'm in the bathroom. I just finished vomiting, and it's
food
a
poisoning.
Mess in there. You don't want me to go.
This is a food poisoning situation.
Food poisoning. You don't want to go in there. I threw up a cool. This is after I think my last 2 rounds I think are 74-91. It was a complete bloodbath on Friday. Or Saturday it looked like I'd forgotten how to swing a golf club. And it was actually, if I had a strokes game breakdown for you, putting would have been off the charts good. And everything else, I might as well, someone could have just handed me a shovel instead of a wedge. I spent more time around the equator on Saturday than a citizen of Ecuador. I mean, it was just unbelievable the things I was doing that I just had never seen before. And I just kind of just had to laugh at it. I mean, look, if it can happen to people like Nick Dunlap, it can happen to people like me, and I'm just gonna pick myself up and dust myself. But it's you know what? It's a great reminder of how humbling this game can be. Just when you think you have it figured out, you have all the right swing feels. You actually go to the range during the week, so you want to keep the swing feels, and then you show up and you just have no clue what sport it is you're playing. And that's the game of golf. That's why we love it so much.
That's right. I played the Shoal Creek member this week with my partner, Matthew Petro, and him and I heading into the week said we would rather, instead of owning a part of our team, we said we would rather own Blockbuster stock. That's how we went into the week as far as just our expectations. And then in our first match, we won, like, I think it's a points-based system. So we won 7.5 points in our first match, which is just crazy. So we won 6 up in 9 holes, and we just ham and egg the crap out of it. Like, I'm making a couple birdies, not keeping it in play on some holes, but then my partner's making pars, and next thing you know, we're winning 6 up. But then as the week went on, my guy, like Matt, he was grinding his butt off. He would do 2 out of 3 things well on every hole, but unfortunately that wasn't enough, like, to make a par. And then for me, I wasn't driving it enough fairways or hitting it well enough to make enough birdies, because I'm a +5. And it's just hard. Golf's hard when you're giving away a lot of shots. But my short game it's stupid, like really, really good. That was exciting to have, just a piece of some good stuff. So the short game was dirty, and I had some good shots. Like, I'm not going to say like my iron game isn't, I mean, it's below average, but I hit above average shots when I was out there. And then I hit like 4 good drivers. Like I think I found 4 fairways in like 5 rounds. So it was,
well, it's nice to have at least one thing. I think I'd feel a lot more down in the dumps if it was just bad all around. But like the first hole at Hope Valley, I hit like a 4-iron off the tee down there, one hopped a pitching wedge out of bounds, and then made like a 25-footer downhill to save bogey. And you're like, all right, that's going to be the story of my day. At least, thank God for this putter, man. Like, of all the tinkering, they're like, I don't believe in a million years you're going to go on to the next thing. I'm like, no, I have this one thing. It's making me happy. Everything else is a mess, but this is the game of golf. This is the game. I will say this, too, as a tease for some upcoming content. The one thing coming home from this and feeling sad is watching one of the projects that we filmed recently and looking at some sweet little wedge swings we were putting on the ball. That was a nice little bit of encouragement. I'm excited. I'm excited to drop that one on the YouTube channel very soon.
Sweet. Can't wait. Update on how we did finish. We just came up short, didn't win our flight, but there's always next year. So it was fun to be back in the mix.
There's always next year.